We're back here chatting with President of Winter Park Ski Resort, Gary DeFrange. And Gary, you spent some time with the NSCD.
I did.
35 years?
It's been about 35 years now. I started out as a volunteer instructor of the blind.
And if you're sitting in your unit looking out at the resort, if you're at the resort anywhere, it's impossible to miss what's going on this weekend. It's
a huge event. It is a huge event. It's one of the biggest events that we do in any given year. And it is a fundraiser for the National Sports Center for the Disabled.
And this is the Wells Fargo Ski Cup.
You know, it's really interesting how this whole thing started. Because if you go back 40 years, and this is the 40th year of that particular event, 40 years ago, we were looking for something to showcase Mary Jane. And we came up with this idea of doing a race. And the race at that time was a pro race. It benefited the National Sports Center for the Disabled. But we did that. The bank that sponsored it was the First National Bank of Denver. And that's the bank that I was with.
Okay, and that was the bank that was the Winter Park, the Resorts Bank.
That was the Resorts Bank. It was the First National Bank of Denver. That bank has gone through several iterations. It changed its name from First National Bank of Denver to Interwest Bank of Denver. It was acquired by Norwest and became Norwest Bank of Denver. Today, it's Wells Fargo Bank. But the same bank basically has sponsored this thing all the way through.
So it starts out with just pros, like Olympians?
It was pro racers, the Mayer brothers, for example.
Okay.
The big racers, they used to be here. But over time, the pro racing in the United States diminished. And we then had the idea, why not do this with disabled racers, who themselves are pros? They're out and they're skiing in the Paralympics.
They're training year-round. I mean, yeah.
And so if you get a chance, you should go see these races. Because watching these folks with disabilities, I'll guarantee you, I can't keep up with them.
Yeah, it's
they
incredible.
Are incredible athletes.
And this is down Lower Hughes.
Down Lower Hughes. And now, instead of the pros racing, it's our disabled pros that are racing. I think the races are much more exciting. And it's a lot more educational for people that are there.
And they each have teams together? Is that?
Their teams, well, there's a couple of races. There's the Pro-Am race, which has a team, and each team has a pro racer. But then there's the races where the disabled people, they race themselves. And those are the races that are just fantastic and incredible to watch.
So what are some of the fundraising elements that are going on this weekend? I mean, we're going to have a silent auction.
The silent auction is huge, and that goes on for the entire weekend. The teams, people buy the teams, so we have money from that. We also have sponsors.
Does it sell out every year?
It's sold out. It is absolutely sold out.
Is it one of those things you do it a year in advance, or?
You do it about 6 months in advance.
But it's gone quick, and I know to get a room anywhere in town. I mean, the town is packed. It's 100%.
The town is sold out. Now, here's the interesting thing is, it takes about $4 million to run this program every year. This is a major component of that. And so for anybody that participates, we so much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because this is a big one for us.
It's huge, and it's all hands on deck at the resort. I mean, it is.
We're full
it's
on
a
this
phenomenal
weekend.
Event.
Yeah, we're full on. There's dinners, there's parties, there's races, and there's just
live
a lot
music
of people.
going. There's, I mean, it's, yeah.
People really enjoy themselves. It's a fun event.
And a huge part of the NSCD, as you well know, is the volunteers. You know, major
about 1,000 volunteers now. I think there's around 700 to 800 of those now. They're instructors.
Any idea what the paid staff is, just for a relation between the?
I think the paid staff today is about a total of 50.
50 versus a huge number of volunteers relative to the paid staff.
Well, if you got 1,000 volunteers, we could not do what we do without the volunteers. They go through a significant amount of training, so their commitment is huge. They not only have to commit to so many days to teach, but they also commit to so many days of training. And then every year, they have refresher courses.
This is more than just skiing. I mean, this is year-round NSCD.
NSCD is year-round. It's winter
Can't think
and
of all
summer
the events.
now.
Horseback riding to skiing
hiking,
to
biking,
yep.
Rafting. And then we do some programs with like the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Rockies, what we call ability camps that are down in Denver. So it's a year-round program. It is the largest of its kind in the world. And I always say this, it truly changes lives.
And it's, as I say, it's just unbelievable to see the people and the thrill that they're getting every time they participate.
They're not disabled at all when they're on those skis.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, with that, we're going to take a break, but it's a great weekend for the NSCD. Definitely pop into the silent auction. It's a tent at the base of Lower Hughes there, and take part of the events, man. It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be awesome.